Bro, that was low-key satisfying, not gonna lie. Anyways, though, yes, it's the Texans' time. I want to say more, but we all know they're gonna lose in the divisional. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Fun NFL. Please like and subscribe. Hope y'all are ready for the Houston Texans 2026 roster grades. This is a team that, coming into last season's roster grades video, they were kind of in a concerning spot because of the fact they had one of the worst off seasons out of any NFL team. Still didn't matter though. After what was it, that 3-5 start, they won how many straight games? It was pretty freaking ridiculous if you don't remember. No, that's not what I wanted. I guess we could do this. Yeah. That's the wrong season, but I mean they're playing Bills week 1. That's been a crazy game. But as you guys know, they started 3-5. Then they I forgot they won their last 9 games, right? Can I not count? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 9 games. I'm not stupid. Yeah, they won their last 9 games, absolutely wheeling. They blew out the Steelers in the wild card, something that has been a continuation of their past 3 seasons. And then they obviously. We'll get to him in a minute. Anyways, though, if you have not watched previous roster grade videos, I do recommend you go watch the, the Jaguars video. That second timestamp after the intro timestamp will give you all you need to know about how this process works and all, like, the kind of under the hood stuff. I still don't go fully into it because, you know, it's kind of boring, but I want to give you guys a credible source and show you that I do some due diligence with this. Anyways, though, back to this. This is a Texans team that has, again, never been to the AFC Championship. I don't know how that's possible, but it is the truth there. And this is a team that, under D'Amico Ryans, is again, from C.J. Stroud's rookie season, has won a playoff game every single season. Last year was actually the first year out of the 3 that they didn't actually win the AFC South. On top of that, though, look at this team. Again, the fact they made it to 3 straight divisional playoff games and really haven't been competitive in any of them. They should have won last year. They were the best team in the AFC that was left, obviously, after Bo Nix's injury. But, the fact you wasted one of the best defenses we've seen over the past 5 seasons is kind of, or honestly, in the 2020s, is kind of ridiculous. But, again, it's just kind of hard for me to kind of contemplate this when you really think about the fact that, again, 3 straight seasons they made it to the divisional. They've won 3 straight playoff games. All of them blowouts. Obviously, they beat the Browns, they beat the Chargers, and the Steelers, all teams that have obviously haven't been very successful in the playoffs in a while now. But really, again, you look at this Texans team, I mean, like, at some point, they're either going to miss the playoffs and kind of fall off, or they got to do something. It's like, I'm not going to say it's now or never, but there's definitely a sense of urgency with this team, and I just think that, again, they've had seasons, again, we look at this team, they haven't really been an atrocious franchise since they've been around. They've actually been pretty competitive in some spots. They've been a team that, again, has been in the up and up, and again, they've had some definitely some truly terrible seasons, but they're not a team that you look at, and again, I guess their existence where you're like, this is a bad team. But again, they're the only team, again, they've only been around since 2002, but they've literally never made it to a championship game. That's crazy. Not as long as the Cowboys, though. Just remember that. But it's frustrating because they've gone 3 straight seasons, and like, I mean, obviously the first year they weren't going to beat the Ravens. Chiefs year, I mean, they could have won. They were arguably a better team, I guess, at that point in the season, but they didn't do that. But last year, again, there was really no excuse. So I'm just frustrated without this team. That's kind of my overall thing, kind of the identity of them. We'll get more into this later, but I just wanted to put that out there first. Anyways, this kind of eats in the time here with C.J. Stroud. But again, if you watched the pre-video or the featured video here for the Texans this offseason with the offseason short, I slammed C.J. Stroud, which we'll get to in a minute. Again, their third string guy is Graham Mertz. This is a guy, if you don't remember, he had that one, or 2, I guess, insane games. I guess we'll just go back to, we're going to look here. What year? Yeah, 2020. If you don't remember, Graham Mertz had those 2 massive, it was this game. He threw 5 touchdowns and had 1 incompletion against Illinois in the first game. This is during COVID, so they started like really late. But that was really the extent to what Graham Mertz was in college. Other than that, he was kind of inconsistent. He has a good arm, though. I think he is a smart dude, even though he makes really bad reads. There's definitely something there. His processing speed isn't really an issue, and he does pick up pressure pretty well. But at the same time, Graham Mertz is just a guy that's kind of not very accurate and, again, makes a lot of mistakes. So, I mean, maybe he'll be their third-string guy, but I don't know what they're going to try to do there. Obviously, Davis Mills is one of the better backups in football. Last year, he was fantastic when he played. He hasn't really started since 2022. Again, he's just been their backup really just past couple years, chilling, spot starter, does his thing. And he's really consistent. Again, he is perfect for the system because of the fact that he isn't, again, the most talented quarterback, but he rarely misses completions downfield. While this says 57.2%, his ADOT has been one of the highest among, again, not qualified quarterbacks, but among, quarterbacks that have played the past couple of years. It's because of the fact that he's an aggressive downfield passer, and it is very justified. Obviously, he was tied for the league lead in 2022 with 15 picks, but he's a guy that is going to be a effective downfield passer, and for a backup quarterback, there's not a lot of guys that do that. On top of the fact that overall he just runs the system very, very well because of the fact that he can really carve up these complex, I'd probably say dual action multiplicities when you look at these defenses he's gone up against over the past couple years, at least off of his tape. And again, there's just not a lot of backups in football that are going to do that. Obviously, though, C.J. Stroud's their starter. That's really not going to change. Last year, his numbers were pedestrian, to be honest with you guys. Barely got over 3,000 yards. He was battling injuries, though, at parts of the season. Again, you look at that Week 18 game, really didn't play a crap ton. He missed, obviously, that Broncos game, and then there was another game in there that I'm kind of just not remembering. But, anyways, again, he's had a precipitous drop in production the past 3 years. I think that's just the best way to put it. I still think last year was a top 10 quarterback overall, or not last year, 2024. Last year was kind of harder to say that just because of the fact that while downfield he was a little bit more threatening, still wasn't a guy that was consistently being able to put up the numbers you needed him to really, again, justify him being a top 10 quarterback. On top of that, obviously, the playoff game is really what you're looking at there. He was something, and that's something that's going to really hurt him. But anyways, I'm still not going to knock C.J. Stroud as much as a lot of other people are. I'm going to give them a B for the quarterback situation because I truly think C.J. Stroud, again, if he can get his shit together in the playoffs on a more consistent basis, and also, guys, there's not many quarterbacks that have won playoff games 3 straight seasons. Keep that in mind. But if he can get his shit together in the playoffs, this is a guy that obviously is can be an elite quarterback. I don't think he's going to be truly as projectable as he was as a rookie by any means. I think we've kind of came to that realization even last year. But I think a lot of people are being a little bit too hard on him, including me in times. But he needs to be better in the playoffs for me to really think of him actually as a really above average quarterback, because that's what he should be. But I mean, we haven't really seen that consistently over the past year and a half. But even then, like last year, he wasn't. You could argue he might have been better than 2024, not on like a consistent basis. But again, it's kind of hard to say with C.J. Stroud. It's a pretentious situation there. But anyways, let's get into the skill positions. Alright guys, let's talk about the Texans running back situation, which is obviously not good. It's better than last year, I guess, because, Nick Chubb's not there. But yeah, rest in peace to Nick Chubb, I guess. Not actually, but, ever since that injury he had, where his knee got literally torn off by basically every single ligament back in 2023 and that Steelers game. But anyways, let's look at this running back room. First off, British Brooks. This is a guy that I don't even think has gotten even a consistent workload at any point in his even collegiate career, if I'm not mistaken. Even look at college guys. He didn't even get the ball in college. He's got that is nifty, though. He's pretty crafty. I don't even really know how to stay, guys. He's just kind of there. Jawar Jordan, he got a couple carries last year. I remember that. Honestly, probably should have got more. The biggest problem with him is he can't see a freaking hole to save his life. I think that most of those yards came against Cardinals in garbage time, though. And we all know how bad that Cardinals defense was last year. But anyways, Jawar Jordan, he's a fun dude to look at, but is he really going to be much of a good player? I really don't know. Woody Marks, he kind of sucked last year. He was basically the #1 back, though. He's just a guy that's really not explosive. That's the biggest thing that's kind of hurting him. He's I will say I won't even want to say nifty, but he's very good at kind of finding his way through holes where there might not be the most definitive seal, and the fact that he's still able to take that chance and really be decisive about it, I think is a very valuable trait for this offense. But at the same time, he's not really going to be a guy you're going to look at giving, again, a ton of carries. But he is their backup. He has experience, which at least is something. David Montgomery is obviously going to be their starter. I don't really know at this point in his career if you'd really want him to be a workhorse. He really hasn't been a guy that I've looked at to really be an explosive guy, honestly, since that 2020 season. Because you look at his numbers, 2021 he kind of sucked. 2022, again, he was really the only guy in that Bears offense that was worth a damn. Obviously, the 2023 season, that was kind of his breakout year, and then obviously 12 touchdowns last year. And then obviously this year, again, at least less production, but still got, again, enough carries to kind of subsidize the Jahmyr Gibbs trying to not use him too much. But yeah, Dave Montgomery, seen #1 back in this point in his career, I really don't know. He should be obviously at least an average guy, which I think is pretty big, but at the end of the day, I don't trust Dave Montgomery as a true down-to-down back, especially with the fact that he's never really been anything as a receiver. So I'm going to give a C+ at running back there. I don't want to completely roast Dave Montgomery because he's an absolute bowling ball. He's kind of a older version of Kenneth Walker, who isn't as inconsistent, but maybe isn't as maybe doesn't have as high as high of a ceiling or as, you know, explosive. So keeping that in mind, I'm going to say a C+. That might be a little bit harsh, but, like, I don't think Woody Marks is really worth a damn either. So we're going to say 18 points, though. I might give it, do I give it a B-? No, I got to give it a C+. This running back room is not, I'd probably say not ideal. Now we move to receiver, though. Again, this is definitely a group that has a bunch of interesting dudes. First off, again, is Nico Collins, who's arguably a top 5 receiver in football. He's just been consistently putting up monster seasons left and right. Last year, not last year, 2024, I would argue that he might have knocked off, no, that's a lot of yards. But before he got injured, obviously, he was leading the league in receiving yards, and I think that, I don't know if he would have got Jamar Chase because he won the Triple Crown. 1,700 yards is a crap ton of yards, but I think it would have been at least somewhat close there. So that's what I'll say on that. And then, again, you look at last year, he saw massive numbers in an offense that really wasn't tailored specifically toward him. He's obviously one of the best threats we've really seen over the past 15 years over the middle of the field. He just completely boxes out. So explosive, big, tall, lengthy. I mean, everything you want in a beast receiver. And his route running has gotten better and better every year. He is an absolute phenomenal #1 receiver. Jaden Higgins, I guess, is their #2. Last year, I like the fact that he became more of an explosive guy. If you looked at him at really his last year at Iowa State, he really wasn't as much of that. Again, we always knew it was there because he does have decent enough downfield speed when he's able to accelerate. But again, he kind of used a lot more possession things. It was kind of a weird season for Jaden Higgins last year, but he's still probably going to be their #2 guy in terms of what we're going to see out of him in terms of the featured, how much he gets featured. But he's still got I need to see a little bit more development in terms of his route running to truly see him as kind of a more well-rounded receiver, because I think that is what he's going to be able to. Again, if he has like a higher level of explosiveness and he's kind of being well-rounded everywhere else, there's definitely good things that'll happen there, especially with what you're going to see with Nico Collins there as well. Tank Dell, he legitimately hasn't played in 2 years, so I don't even know what to say here. As a rookie, he obviously couldn't stay healthy. 2024, I mean, his numbers weren't fantastic. Again, I don't think him and CJ Stroud really were on the same page at all that season. Obviously, that gruesome knee injury. I don't even think he's gonna. Yeah. What are we gonna do with Tank Dell, guys? Like, his knee's like a freaking. You know that video of the guy? Why am I gonna say that? I didn't say that. But anyways, where you get the chicken leg and the chicken just falls off. That's basically what we got with Tank Dell right now, guys. His knee is cooked. I really just don't know what to expect with him. So he's kind of like a non-factor for me right now. If he gets in the field and him and CJ Stroud figure things out, I mean, he can obviously be their, I don't know, X factor, but like, I can't say that right now because I don't know what his knee looks like. Oh, I know it's cooked, but it's not good there for Tank Dell. Xavier Hutchinson, last year, I surprisingly had 400 yards. Again, I really like this guy because of the fact that he has been around a little bit, and he's gotten, I'm not going to say better and better every year, but he kind of has too. Has never really created enough separation for me to truly really like him at all, to be honest with you guys. But, again, you look at him, when I look at him coming out of the draft that year, I'm like, this guy has strong hands, very good physical body there. He's a solid guy in the red zone. He at least creates some sort of throwing window and is able to box guys out, which is huge, despite the fact that his separation was just not really there, and it hasn't really been there again a ton in the league. But he's still a guy, again, want to get the field, very reliable guy. I'll be very interested to see what happens with him. And then you also have Jalen Noel, who really didn't crack the starting lineup a ton last year and kind of really wasn't put in the best situations, but he was an explosive guy coming out of Iowa State. Again, obviously him and Jaden Higgins are like best dudes. You got 3 Iowa State receivers in this room, but you look at Jalen Noel as a guy that's going to be more of an explosive guy and kind of a yak threat at the same time. So we'll see what happens there. Justin Watson, he was a former dude for the Chiefs, where he was kind of their explosive guy. Really, 2023, he was like their #1 explosive player. Even like 2022, you really look at that last game of the season against the Raiders. But for me, Justin Watson is not a guy that's really made anything more than a special teamer. So that's what I'll say there. And I guess he can play. He's had experience. And other than that, I mean, you got a bunch of other dudes, but none of them. I mean, Jaquan Jackson, I've heard of that guy, former Tennessee Titan. You got some other dudes. But for me, this receiving room, I'm going to give a B. I want to give it a B+, but like if I really think about it again, and when I compared it with the this is tough because when I compare it to we just did the Patriots one. The Patriots, Nico Collins and AJ Brown. Again, I think Nico Collins might be a better receiver right now, but they're still very, very similar. So it's kind of a wash either way. Romeo Dobbs is a definitively better receiver than Jaden Higgins, at least at the moment. And I think Kayshon Boutte has a higher ceiling than all 3 of the other guys. Really, the X factor there is Tank Dell. If Tank Dell is healthy and he's playing out of his mind, this is obviously a B+ receiving core, but I can't take that chance right now just because it's really just because of the fact that he he's got a cooked knee. So I want to give him a B+. They probably deserve a B+, but I'm gonna stick with a B right now because of the fact. You know what? I gotta stick with a B. It's just not fair. They don't really have a proven #2 guy. And again, Jaden Higgins for sure could be that. Even Jalen Noel maybe. Again, Xavier Hutchinson is reliable, but again, they have like 4 guys I can trust right now. And even then, like I can't like definitively say these guys are gonna really be big time players. Other than obviously Nico Collins. Now we go to tight end. Dalton Schultz has been the most probably consistent tight end in football for a while now. His blocking has never really been the favorite part of him for his game for me because of the fact that he really isn't not effective, and again, he kind of just withholds his block and just calls it a day. But again, he's put up, what is it now? At least 500 yards receiving every year since 2020, since he cracked the starting lineup for the Cowboys. Just underneath threat, always is open, really never drops a pass. Again, he can be a downfield threat when you need him. He's just a workhorse, lunch pill sort of guy. I don't want to say that, but it's just the truth. Foster Moreau, everyone makes a bunch of memes about his brick hands, but he's a guy that is going to be a viable backup for you. Last year, he didn't really play a lot at all for the Saints. Again, 2024, he was like legitimately their only guy that could block consistently, which I will say there. But he's going to be a really solid backup for you as long as he's not, again, getting his brick hands back. But, yeah, solid 1-2 there. And then Marlon Klein, they took him out of Michigan. He was a big reach here. Again, I think he's just going to be more of a guy that's going to be technically sound. And you look at how Michigan's been able to churn out these blocking tight ends past couple of years, at least in terms of a base. It's huge. As a receiver, he's really not much of anything outside of a couple outside boundary sort of routes where he can get open. He's definitely better than Cade Stover, I think, coming out. Cade Stover last year just honestly struggled. You look at him in 2024, he was much more of a capable receiver. Last year, just simply couldn't stay on the field. Like, he wasn't playable in terms of blocking. Obviously, injuries, another concern there. I like the fact they brought Marlon Klein to be kind of a more reserved or more safe guy than guy like Cade Stover, but they have those guys battling for the tight end 3 spot, and then obviously Foster Moreau, unless he starts to suck, should have that number 2 guy spot in lockdown. Again, I don't think that pick was a reach by the Texans. I can't even lie to y'all. But for me, I'm gonna give B for the tight end because I mean, like, Dalton Schultz is gonna do what he's gonna do, and the backups are pretty good too. So 16 points there, good rhyme. Let's get into the offensive line. The overall grade will follow that. Okay, guys, looking at this Texans offensive line, it's kind of a mosh pot of a lot of different guys, and the biggest thing to say is that there isn't a single guy in this offensive line outside of Ursary who literally didn't start, that hasn't started, but hasn't again, there's absolutely no continuity in this offensive line. That's really just the thing to say there. But if you look at Ursary last year, I'm just trying to get his exact snap count. Woo! There we go. What was the snap count last year? It was good. I can't remember exactly what it was. I remember that some of the games. Yeah, he started every game. What am I talking about? For me, Ursary had, again, a lot of it was obviously the rookie, typically rookie woes here and there. The fact that he was able to maintain, integrity against power the entire season and was able to pin down a lot and really not give up too much room as a run blocker, I think were very, very stand out for me from what I saw out of him last year. But at the same time, this is just a guy that, again, is still developing. So I'm going to kind of ease off on what we see with him. Again, his film was kind of all over the place, but again, still a lot of good things at the end of the day. Then you got Blake Fisher. He's a guy that's they've tried out a lot of different spots. He hasn't really worked out too much, really at all. But he does get a lot of penetration, which is something that's why he might get on the field time and makes him a viable backup. Wyatt Teller's old now and washed. Again, you look back to that 2020 season with the Browns, they brought him in, he kind of was like, who the hell is this dude? Kind of a scrub, and then, I mean, what was it now? 2020, 21, 22 was his best year, and I think, it might have been Batonius. I get those two mixed up a lot in terms of their best years. 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, those 5 years that he was absolutely, gross. Maybe 23 was, not 23. 22 was the down year, holy crap. 21 was. I get confused. Anyways, last year he wasn't as good. He's just older. He'll give them average level play. That Premier, if we're talking about really isolated run blocker, that's just not really going to be there. I'll just tell you that right now. So expect him to be a little bit more of a, again, kind of a, I wouldn't say ineffective, but while he will be definitely rocking a lot of solo assignments, it won't be as much of a dominate and create a hole yourself, and more of a kind of just do your thing. Evan Brown. This guy, again, also has played a lot. I like him a lot because of the fact that he is very technically refined, but he can't stop power consistently. And also, he does have a little bit of issues with guys getting in his kitchen in terms of them being able to beat him laterally. But still, he's a guy that is very consistent in terms of what you're going to get out of him, and he's a solid run blocker, too. Kalen Rutledge, he was a second-round pick, or not, first-round pick. Very aggressive blocker. I love that about him. I think this tenacity he will bring will, again, lead a lot of C.J. Stroud sacks, but also put him in spots where they run the ball a lot better. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with him. I didn't have him anywhere near that talent, but again, the aggression is definitely something you can't ignore, which is good. Jake Andrews, I think the Patriots tried him out starting, and he just wasn't very good. He's a lot better than Jared Patterson just because of the athleticism, the fact that he can actually, hold down a block. Jared Patterson, bro, what the hell? But anyways, yeah, Jake Andrews is solid. Ed Ingram, he obviously had that meme season, what was it, back in 2023 with the Vikings? That was hilarious. He wasn't actually that bad. I guess I'm kind of lying here. Him and Ursary did play together last year. But Ed Ingram last year, honestly, wasn't actually that bad. I think they kind of fixed him. He isn't a guy that, again, you can just straight up, blow by or, beat with, a 1-2 pin, pull, swim. I mean, you could beat him with that, but like I'm thinking like kind of a swipe move. Those things just don't work on him as well, which I think is huge in terms of his development. But you know, you'll get what you're gonna get out of him. This dude, now Awiyu out of Oklahoma, he's a guy that I'm gonna be very interested to see how they try to use him as a run blocker because he didn't really do a great job with that last year, and it's really just because his leverage was rough. Braden Smith, he's old too, or he's not even that old. He's 30. Okay, I would say he's washed, but in terms of the agility, we saw obviously like for 4 years there, like 2018 through 2021, that being his rookie year, that's kind of faded a little bit. But yeah, Braden Smith is still obviously a very solid right tackle. Trent Brown's unk now, but he still gives you a lot of veteran leadership. You know, Jared Patterson, City still have played in the past. Really good depth in the offensive line. The starters, there's not really a ton of continuity, and really the only guy I think that is surefire is probably. I'd probably say Wyatt Teller, and he'll be average. Ursery, we really don't know what's going to happen with him yet. He's definitely on the up and up, though. Rutledge is going to be an interesting rookie. Ed Ingram, I hope, builds off of a very strong last season. Then, obviously, Braden Smith is going to be an above-average player. For me, it's kind of a mosh-posh. I'm going to give it a C+. It's just an offensive line that I think is obviously a lot better than last year, but still in a position where it's very unpredictable and not something I'd really trust completely. So, geez, good stutter. I guess it's better. That's 110 points for this offense, though, which is pretty much where you'd expect it to be. That's going to put them in the B- here, which is where they belong. Again, it's just the fact that C.J. Stroud's kind of in like a regression, and until that changes, it's kind of hard for me to really see this offense being super effective. And the fact they don't really have much of a threatening running game or, again, a proven guy at receiver other than, I guess you could say, Dalton Schultz, but with Nico Collins. But that's all I have there. Let's look at this defense, starting with the front side. Moving to this Texans defense, we will talk about the D-line a little bit later. I guess we'll just come out on the pass rush. But this linebacking core is basically the exact same as last year. Henry To'oTo'o has turned into a very reliable player. His pass coverage is still abysmal, but I think it's to a point where I can kind of ignore it because of the fact that, at least in zone, he's in the right spot. His tackling has gotten a lot better, though, and he's been a lot more of a support run-stopping role where his gap integrity and his ability to really take on blocks is putting the defense in a lot of some really good spots. The next thing to really step up, the next step I think with him is the kind of putting him in a spot where he can actually shed blocks and be the one making a lot more tackles. But yeah, he's really good. Marte Mapu behind him is a more pass coverage centric guy. His tackling, especially in the open field, is a little bit worrisome though because a lot of times last year where that was an issue. But you do get very versatile coverage ability with him, which is I think a reason that he will get to play. Azeez Al-Shaair, while he's a crappy human being, a dirty player, he's an absolutely phenomenal linebacker. Really, the past 2 seasons, he's just gone completely bonkers. He's a guy, at least in coverage, where you have to pay attention to him because, again, he's going to knock the snot out of your receiver if that's not the case. And against the run, he's really never in the wrong spot. And, again, he rarely misses tackles. And just really the overall aggression and the consistency in his game is something you just don't find very often, despite, again, the fact that he is just not a fun guy to really talk about because of the fact that he's just, piece of shit. But anyway, Wade Woodad's, this is a guy out of Clemson that I had in my top 8, top 7, whatever. He's going to be a reliable guy for you. His tackling technique has definitely, I think, gotten better, even over, the freaking offseason so far, from what I've heard. The biggest thing, though, is the fact that he's a limited guy in coverage, and he will really just be a guy that needs to be, his margin for error is a lot smaller, but still a guy that I think will be doing a better job than Jake Hansen, a guy last year who got way too many snaps to the fact that he couldn't cover cold last year. And on top of that, you have EJ Speed, who is, he's been really good in the past. And really, that 2024 season was his best season, where he kind of just took over. Then last year, the Texans kind of was in a reserve role, but still did a lot of good things. So, he's fast, as his name would say. Jamal Hall's not bad either. I like the depth. It's kind of a mix of tangible tools, talent, and a guy that's there. So that's good. Linebacker, though, I'll give a B. I'll give it a B+. I think it's not in the A tier, is it? Screw it, I'm giving them an A. We're giving this linebacking core an A-. They were way better than I think a lot of people would have wanted to admit last year. Again, there's a reason this defense was, the best in football. So I'm gonna say an A-. I think that's fair to say. Just because again, they were really good last year. Or was that 30? I think it is 30. I'm going to stop bullshitting that. All right, let's get into this defensive line. Really, overall, when you look at this group, it's not really much going on in the interior other than the fact that they're going to really kind of isolate their assignments and try to shed blocks and kind of work upfield against the run. And that's not really what Sheldon Rankins does, but my bad. That is what Sheldon Rankins does. That's not what Tommy Tagovailoa does. He's basically a nose tackle. He gave you actually consistent pressure last year, which was kind of crazy. It was really the fact that he, again, obviously against the run, he was very good at kind of getting off those blocks after pinning down. But it's more the fact that he actually, influenced the pocket a lot, which I was very surprised by. He's turned into a pretty good player. Sheldon Rankins obviously is 32 now. He was more there again, kind of cleanup sort of dude. His pass rush ability obviously has dipped a little bit recently, especially in terms of the speed move that he used to really work well with. Obviously, he's really just a pure bull rusher at this point in his career. It'll be interesting to see how they use him. But outside of that, guys, this is freaking Mariana Trench deep in terms of their depth here. Logan Hall, he's a guy that, again, has never really been a consistent run defender, but he's always given you at least somewhat some pass rush. Again, last season kind of a down season in terms of that, at least in terms of the pressure rate, but I did like a lot of the developments I saw on tape, which I think project well into this year. He will be rotating in a good amount. And obviously, Cade McDonald, who I expect to be starting by the end of the season. This is a guy that is a premier run defender coming out of college, and he gives you at least a two-faceted pass rush set where he is a guy that can beat you with speed, at least to some degree. Obviously, not very consistently, but he's still a guy, again, at least he's a run defender that will be a big-time plus for you. And again, will just maintain the entire integrity of your defense. You also have Naquan Jones. That's played a little bit in his career, I'll say that. But he's old now, and he'll give you, I don't know, something. But anyways, interior of the D-line, there's a lot of good things going on. Obviously, off the edge, Will Anderson is arguably the best edge rusher in football. Daniel Hunter, why did I say Daniel? He just said 15 sacks. It's the best edge rusher doing football, and it's really not even that close. Dominique Robertson is a guy that, while he has really never been even not abysmal, at least statistically, I think him going to this Texas team and really working on his bend to kind of be his major weapon, where it's not like, oh, that's all he can do, and even then it's ineffective. I think that'll definitely be a good adjustment for him. And you also have Dylan Horton, who is a guy that is an effective player because he has a really solid lateral inside counter, but again, he doesn't really have a true #1 move, so it's kind of a weird thing going on there. Yeah, absolutely no depth, as y'all know, off the edge, though. I'm still going to give this D-line, though, probably an A, or not an A, an A-. The pass rush is going to get an A+, because I mean, like, I can't tell you guys, if you're the best edge rusher doing football, you're going to get an A+ in pass rush, even if you literally don't have anyone else in your defense. I mean, like, I could break down Will Anderson and freaking Neil Hunter for days, which we're not going to do, because we want to save a little bit of time. But yeah, that's obviously going to be an A+. D-line will give an A-. I love what's going on there. 6, 12, 18, we'll say 20 points. Pass rush is going to be 48. It is absolutely filthy. So, yeah, let's get this cornerback in safety and secondary, and we'll just see what this overall defense grade comes out to. It's going to be pretty damn high. Alright, guys, let's look at this super deep. It's not super deep. This really good secondary for the Texans. Derek Stingley is the first guy to talk about. We'll start with the cornerbacks, I guess. Derek Stingley has been the best. No, he hasn't been the best. He's the second best cornerback in football, though, behind not yours truly, but Pat Surtain. So, yeah, obviously his breakout year was 2020. No, his rookie year he was good. His breakout year was 2023. 2024, he was also pretty damn gross, and then last year, I mean, he just didn't get targeted. So, like, I don't know what to tell y'all. He's absolutely filthy. He's basically what Jalen Ramsey was in his prime. So, yeah. Kamari Lassiter, he got even better last year. He was my guy coming out of college. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I called that guy. Not many people were talking about him. The biggest thing with him is he's just so disciplined, and he's a very refined tackler and gets targeted a crap ton. The fact that he's so disciplined, even though he might not be the most talented cornerback, I think he obviously still has an immense amount of talent to be that effective, but he's still not he's not Derek Stingley. You didn't look at him like that guy's just an absolute freak. But Kamari Lassiter has turned into an absolute freaking dog, and he's an elite cornerback, at least to some degree in a lot of ways. Again, you just can't throw in either of those guys and really get a lot out of that. One of the best cornerback duos in football, maybe the best. Trayvon Smith, he's a guy you can kind of put on the boundary and expect him not to get completely physically abused, but you can beat him with double moves to a pretty consistent rate. So it's kind of the concern with him, but overall he's still a reliable depth guy. Jalen Smith, I don't like him at all. Last year, he really just didn't get the play for obvious reasons when you have those two guys there. But yeah, Jalen Smith's not a guy I really am too confident just yet. DeMarcus Ingram, he's played in the past. Brandon Condrington, too, as well as Elijah Huzzie. Huzzie's not even that bad. Anyways, Jalen Petrie is nickelbacker. Not really nickelbacker. He's a nickel. But yeah, after that kind of whirlwind rookie season, he's kind of settled down every year after that. His coverage skills have gotten consistently better. Obviously, he's just kind of an instinct freak. Not as much as, what the hell is his name? Not Emmanuel Williams. Yeah, Williams. Evan Williams. There we go. Jalen Peters an elite slot, though. He's probably the best playmaker at the position in the entire league at this point, other than Devin Witherspoon, who's in just, he's on a league of his own. But, not the movie. But anyways, yeah, their cornerback room is absolutely downright insane. It's going to be an A+. Again, just still don't care about the depth. I might even give it an A++. Again, that's what it deserves. This cornerback room is just absolutely insane. 6, 12, 18. What is that? 24, 26 points. Yeah, that cornerback room is just, again, it's unreal. I mean, I don't even know what to tell y'all. Safety, Not as good, but still pretty damn good, because Reed Blankenship, them getting in there is definitely a more reliable piece. Last year, the Eagles kind of a step back from 2024. Not really, though. He still got a decent contract, so I can't really say too much about that. But in coverage, he's always guys going to be in the right spot, especially towards the boundary. He really rarely gets a big plays. And in man coverage, he is capable of, at least with his hip validity, being able to stick with these quicker slots. But in terms of him as a run defender, he's very reliable because of the fact that he's really never out of a gap. And it's very, very hard, like I said, to break a big play out when he's on the field. It's not going to be like that. It's going to be that hard. It's going to be any easier, though, because you obviously have Henry 202 and then he's Alshaya there. So, for me, Reed Blankenship is a really reliable player. He, again, might not have the highest of ceilings, but he still makes a lot of plays. Cameron Block, for me, is just a guy that, again, despite his gross rookie numbers, last year wasn't exactly as good, but you could argue might have even grown a little bit. So, he's in a weird spot. His tackling rate definitely went up, and I definitely think I was a little bit more comfortable with him coverage, especially with the over-the-middle passes were definitely a little bit better. So, again, the fact that he's just in such a good secondary kind of hurts him a little bit, too. Now, again, it's not really his fault, but if he continues to develop, he'll definitely be a very solid player. MJ Stewart, Kamari Ramsey will probably get in the field at some point. Again, I definitely project Kamari Ramsey as their dime guy just because of the fact that he gives you basically every single look you want in terms of a shade guy in zone. So it'll be very interesting to see what they do with him. But again, he's a guy that coming out, I'm like, this guy has a lot of versatility. Obviously doesn't have your, again, high-end athleticism and really just fluidness and coverage to kind of, consistently put him on the field at least just yet. But again, if he's able to, get this defense down pretty quick, he'll be in a fine spot. But anyways, these safeties, I'll probably give a B2, just because I don't think Reed Blankenship is truly like an A-tier safety, and then Kalen Block obviously is more of a B guy. So I'm gonna say a B there. I want to give him a B plus, but I'm just not really feeling it. So that's gonna be 9, 18, 24 points there. If you add all those up, it's gonna be a lot. 20, 48, 26, 24, 148 points for this defense. That's gonna put them in the A tier. It's hard to find an A plus defense because as good as it is, I mean, again, I think an A plus defense is you have an elite player at every single position, and I mean they basically have that. It's really just safety that's kind of holding them back, and safety is a significant enough position where I can say that. But yeah, this is probably the closest you ever get to an A plus defense. I don't know if I've ever given an A plus defense to a grade to a roster, but this is about as close as you're gonna get. So you're looking at it right there. All right, let's see what this overall roster grade is. Obviously, we have to stall first. That's going to start with looking at this special teams unit. Obviously, first is Kymir Fairbairn. I don't know why I said that twice. He had his best year of his career last year, 91%. Oh, I forgot about that 2023 season. That was insane. His only missed kick was that freaking extra point, bro. That was hilarious. I'm not going to... That was insane. Again, I'm just looking at... He's like, oh, against the Titans. But anyways, back to this. Yeah. Kymir Fairbairn is an elite kicker. I mean... How long has he been around? He's 30. He's only 32 now. Every year since 2017. Yeah, this guy's just an absolute dog. Oh, Kai Kruger, he's an average punter. Jack Stonehouse used to be good, but he's washed now. Jalen Knowles a really underwhelming returner, but there's a reason he does it. It's because he's fast as strike. Austin Brinkman's also a good long snapper. The special teams unit's going to be in a B+. It's just, I don't think they have, again, a ton of crazy things going on, but there's really no concerns with me there. Anyways, though, the depth of this team. All right, quarterback depth, A. Running back depth, D+, so I'm probably going to say we're probably at a B- at this point. Receiver depth, I'll give a B. I'm going to probably say at a B there. Tight end depth, I give a B too, so just stick at a B. O-line depth, I give a B there too, so we're just still showing at a B. D-line depth, I'd give a, this is tough. Probably a, it's just like complete opposite. I'll probably say a C+. Pass rush depth is probably an F, if we're going to be completely honest, but I don't know, we'll probably still give it a C, so. C, and what we were at a B, so I'll probably say a C+, B- so far. I think you back up to a B because I really like the depth there. Cornerback depth, I'd probably give a D+. And if we're going to say, no, probably a C-. So we're probably down to a B-, but then the safety depth, I'm going to say Texans got a B. Solid depth in this team over others. Some positions that are definitely a little more worrisome than others, but nothing too major. So what is that going to be? 32 points for the depth. And then we get to the identity. I already kind of alluded to earlier. I think this Texans team is not going in the greatest of directions, but the defense is good enough where I don't think it matters. Again, you just can't waste a season like that, even though obviously this defense got arguably better this offseason. Just for the fact you never know what happens with injuries, and, it's kind of hard to, put that performance together back-to-back seasons. But regardless, this is a Texans team that's obviously going to be contending this season for the AFC South, arguably the best team in the division. It's just going to be how much do I really, trust them for that. But again, I'll give them B-. I trust them year-round with what's going on. It's just the fact that, again, they haven't taken that next step, which they need to at some point. So, 35 points. If we add that up, what do we have for the defense or offense? 110 plus 148. That's ridiculous. 35, and then we have 32 and 9. That's going to give them 334 points. I mean, you know, defense wins championships, guys. That's going to put them in the A- tier. I don't know if I quite want to do that, but I'm going to because I think it is fair. Again, when you have the best defense in football and then also have an offense that really isn't, again, I'm not going to say isn't not pulling their weight. It's going to be a pretty damn good roster. I'm going to say that's going to be probably one of the highest point totals we're going to see this year. Overall, there's really no hole in this roster. It's just the fact that, again, offensively, you need to see if CJ Stroud can be like what he was. I'm not even going to say he's a rookie, but when he's showing flashes at points throughout his career, this is a team that should be contending for the AFC. That's just the truth there. But they haven't really been gotten around to doing that yet. So, best defense in football. An offense that should be pretty fine, and you know, some other things going on. That's all I have for y'all. This Texans team, they got a pretty loaded roster, and yeah, let's get to a team that definitely wasn't loaded last year.